Welcome to Biker Talk. Today's video features Nigel, who has an unusual collection of bikes, including a beautiful Bultaco Matrella. And we also have a chat about the MILTHORPE motorcycle show, which he helped organise. I hope you enjoy.
My name's Nigel. I've been riding for almost 60 years. I love motorcycles, and I love motorcycles that are mean, lean and hungry. I was always interested in bikes. My father was a motorcyclist. My mother hated them, although the story was that my father grew up in Inverell and he went to Tamworth for work, and he rode into town on his Rudge Ulster. And my mother was standing with her sisters, and she, as a joke, said, "I'm going to marry that man," and lo and behold, she did, as he rode through town. So I grew up with these stories about motorcycles, my father talking about, you know, having velosets and owning motorcycles. My pride and joy is the Matrella. It's a 1966 Mark II. That's when Bultaco really did come into their own. Prior to that, they were about 200 cc's or 175. In '66, they put out the Mark II 250, and it was a 100-mile-an-hour bike in its day. So it's probably my favourite bike. It's probably the one I'd keep. The Matrella, for my way of thinking, looked very much like an English bike that I fell in love with when I was a kid. That square bottom tank, it's almost got a Norton look to it. And the Bultaco symbol, thumbs up, was Bulto took it from seeing riders on the Isle of Man giving their pit crews the thumbs up because things were going well. So Spanish bikes are nice. They're simple, they're two strokes, which are very anti-social, and they were quick, you know, and just a lovely little bike. And the Bultaco's just handled like they're on rails. There is a 1972 Montesa Coda, which I bought in 1972 from Rhines, and it's the only bike I've managed to keep since my childhood. In '72 I was doing a dip ed, and I received a grant from my scholarship, and I got a big book allowance. It was about $600, so I immediately went to Parramatta and bought a Coda. I figured I could get the books from the library or borrow them, whereas I just love the Coda. And again, it comes into that theme that they're thin and they're lean. The two Hondas, a 1976 125 Hondas, I bought them as basket cases, mainly because I wanted spare parts, because I've got a 123 Montesa in the shed that is under restoration, has been under restoration now for about 3 or 4 years. But I thought I could use some of the Honda parts. I thought I could use wheels. But when I got the bikes home, I discovered, and it was pointed out to me by a friend, that they're actually consecutive numbers. So from 1976, these two bikes rolled out of Honda factory, one after the other. They probably went to Melbourne, probably sent to a distributor. They were sold in Bathurst, and someone's obviously walked in and said, "I'll take 2 of them, wrap them up," and somehow, unbeknown to me, they've stayed together since '76. The little Ducati is a 450. It's only 90 of them came to this country. It's a Mark III. And the Cafe Racer is a 1976 H1 500 triple, bought new in Brisbane. In honour of the TSSs, I've created my own replica. So it's probably a bespoke motorcycle. It would be the only one in Australia, and perhaps the only one in the world. It's running a Honda CBR RR 1100 front end with the big Nissan brakes, something that the Kawasaki never had. This one's got stiffened frame, Icon or Connie suspension, Shona front end, and big Nissan brakes. So it's it's a unique bike. Oh, I got a Triumph 216 Thruxton R. It's an old man's bike. You're looking at an old man. It's a very accommodating bike. It goes, it has good performance. If you want to ride it quickly, it can be a sports bike. If you want to putter along at 100k and think that you're doing 120, it's the same bike. But I can't leave things alone. I've pulled the guard off it to make it look more like a Cafe Racer. I thought I've got to have a 2-in-1 on the Thruxton, so it's running, it's slightly different to an original. But everyone stamps their own personality on their bikes. 750 Ducati, wouldn't that be nice, you know? I bought a GT at one stage and I painted it orange or yellow to look like the 750, but to have a replica 750 Ducati, or perhaps the Indians may bring back the Dominator Norton, and they're certainly now making a 650 BSA Gold Star that I'd look seriously at. That 650 single looks like a nice bike. It was to have a bike show, and we thought that really it would only be about 20 bikes. We ended up with 86 registered bikes on show, many more bikes that weren't registered for the show, and we had about 400 people come through. Chris's Laverdas and Ducatis, a fellow who lives locally, dragged out his 1916 Harley Davidson sidecar. Seamus brought along his VTR in the Castrol colours. His sons brought along his Kawasaki's. I mean, that Eagly Vincent had got to be jaw-droppingly beautiful, and then sitting next to it's an original Black Shadow. Firstly, it was for a charity for men's mental health, so it was Moto. The Salvation Army, the Ulysses Club, dropped the toy run, so last minute the Orange Classic Club said they'd do the toy run. So people came from Orange and brought along a gift for kids whose Christmas wasn't going to be great. The local cafes all did great business. It did the town some good in that they'd had a terrible year. We didn't know we'd been in lockdown, we'd been out of lockdown. Everybody got something out of it. And the bikers just had a relaxed day, good weather, talk to people who love bikes and see something that you may not see, and see things that have come out of sheds. Do as I say, not as I do. Find a bike that does suit you, respect the bike, learn to ride it, learn its characteristics, ride defensively, and be aware that motorists don't see motorcyclists. You know, we're virtually invisible. I don't know how many people in four-wheel drives will see you coming along the road on your left-hand side and pull out in front of you. And they've got 4.5 tonnes of metal around them, and you haven't. It's music. I mean, the sound of a Ducati is just a symphony. It's a harmony. It's freedom, of course. It stood for rebelliousness. Every bike has a story. It's either got a story before you got it, it's got a history, or it has the history that you have created with it. It clears your mind. But motorcycling is not like driving. Now you can put your car on cruise control and you can almost go to sleep. They'll beep if they get too close to the car in front, whereas you still have to be aware of the environment. You have to be part of what's going on, weather conditions, road conditions, other users of the road. I once tried to explain to somebody about how there was a natural synergy in riding a motorcycle, but they weren't motorcyclists and they just thought that I was having myself on. But I was trying to say that you're more in tune with the elements on a motorcycle than you are driving a car. When it rains, you get wet. I mean, motorcyclists become addicted to motorcycling, and you'll ride your bike even when you think I should drive the car.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And remember, you can't buy happiness, but you can ride a motorcycle, and that's kind of the same thing.